Our purpose in life is to seek knowledge every single day, then turn around and pass the torch of knowledge on to someone else. If you want to leave a legacy, seek knowledge and pass the torch. One, two, three. All right, we are live. All right, we are in another episode of Pass the Torch podcast. Tonight we have Sukhi Wahiwala, who is a successful British-born Sikh who, as a serial entrepreneur, built a small business empire by harnessing 7 generations of business success, becoming an established multi-millionaire. Sukhi has authored his own unique methodology called the SynaGus Method, which creates clear, simple, step-by-step strategies to grow businesses and emotional intelligence to shape the bottom line profit and stability of thousands of companies and individual lives around the world. As an international speaker, Forbes 30 under 30 judge in 2017-2018, a Princess Trust recognition, KPMG, and British Chamber of Commerce alliances, Sukhi feels privileged to share his knowledge as the go-to business mentor for growing businesses on television, radio, educational interviews, and keynote stages, honoring him with inspirational testimonials and results from his clients. More recently, he was blessed to have shared his journey on the prestigious TED platform. Sukhi, we are so glad to have you on Pass the Torch podcast. Welcome to the show.
I'm really, really humbled to be on the show, and that was what a lovely introduction. Thank you.
I'm in awe just reading your bio. You're involved in a myriad amount of things, and it's incredibly impressive. So I'm humbled just to be able to interview, and I'm really excited to have you. It took us a while to get on this journey to have you here, but it all worked out, and that's what matters. So I'm super excited.
Thank you.
The first question, Sukhi, I always ask every single guest is, what is their why that wakes them up every single day, that has them on their journey in the first place? Why do you do what you do day in and day out? And I know you do a lot of things, but specifically on your journey, what propels you?
Wow. Why? It's an amazing part of the conversation here. So the reality is, Levante, is that the why, and I'm sure your listeners have the same principle understanding, the why is quite deep.
Absolutely.
And it is what we call the mission, because the mission is your why, and your vision is kind of how you're doing it, what specifically. But for myself, my why kind of changed over the years. 2006 had a big turn for me in my life. 2006 I had a near-death experience, with hepatitis A, which was a fish-borne liver virus, should I say. And I suppose it changed a lot of things in my brain, my focus of life and how and what I really wanted from myself. Or maybe I wasn't even asking that question before. Maybe I was just on a mission that was like a closed mission, by the age of 26, 27. Businesses and property through to little things where I didn't spend, you could say I wasn't really wanting or needing any financial need. Mm-hmm. So I think the why definitely changed after 2006, after I was 31, when I was away from a group of companies for about a year. I'm happy to talk about that if you want me further, but the reality is my why is very simple. Now, originally my why started off being something on the lines of this, where I want to inspire and create positive change in the worlds of others. But underneath this is the first time actually I'm going to be personally sharing this, we can call it the real inner true why. I genuinely believe that every single human being on this planet has a mission or has a purpose to be here. Now, whether we connect that to what we classify as a scientific consciousness, whether we connect that to a spiritual ether, the universe, or God, whichever be. For me, in this specific context, I'm very, very proud to say it's God for me. But to me, it means the same. So the reality is that we've all been given some kind of a flow or a mission. It's been handed out somewhere along the line.
Definitely.
We sometimes don't find it within ourselves. So for me, I have a deeper ignition right now where I'd like to ignite the individual self-awareness or self-responsibility is the key word. So I like to ignite people's self-responsibility. To me, I think that's a similar thing, Levante, to say that it's kind of like unlocking their potential. And that's really my internal vision. So I do that across the board, whether I'm renting a home, renting a warehouse, or helping the elderly, or importing stock. I have to look at where it's going, what it is. So for me, I'm very ethical. So I don't do things like the gambling circles and stuff of that sort, because I don't find that is my journey. So it doesn't fit within my ignition of people's self-responsibility. So there's my why.
I love that. I love that. When did you come to the point where you said, you know what, I feel so pulled to actually start doing something? A lot of people, they think about going into business, they think about pursuing their dreams, but they don't ever actually do it. And execution and action, and someone who's as successful as you knows that's what it takes. What was the point in your life where you said, you know what, I'm going to actually put one foot in front of the other and make it happen?
Okay, great. So just to track back a little bit. My apologies if I'm a little bit slow, team, and all the listeners out there who are listening to the Mentorch. First of all, thank you very much for having me here, but it's after 12 o'clock in the UK here, so I'm just carrying with in case I'm a bit like dopey and stuff of that sort of nature. I'm just real. I'm being really honest about this.
That's how we are.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So the reality of this point is, at what point in my life, did I feel I wanted to change things, or when I wanted to start taking that first step, is what you're saying. The reality is that I came from 7 generations of business. I'm very, very humbled to be like this.
Absolutely.
And I haven't had the programming of not getting stuff done. I haven't had the programming of procrastination. I haven't had the understanding of wanting to do something and not doing it, kind of being fearful around it or something of that sort of nature. I just didn't understand it. I've come from a background within my family who, my parents, my grandfather, they're from the background of what we call India, in specific Punjab, which is the north west. So there's an old philosophy over there, so that you do today's work today. No, you do today's work right now, and then you do tomorrow's work today as well. It's very, very military. I mean, you know where I'm coming from.
I hear you.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, it's never been one of those issues of how did I get myself in front of the other. But I just, when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, I went on. In the UK, we have kind of a bit before your high school. There's like a further studies, which is the A levels over here, which are when you're 16, you go in at 17, 18, you've come out at 18 before university. So we basically, my answer to your question is very clearly, the only time I would have ever had to have challenged or decided should I not was at that particular point when I was 16, 17, going on to further education.
No.
When kind of like I was going to the architectural route. I was going to become an architect because I was surrounded by this amazing, like, you could say, if you could visualize, my father standing there, for 60 years has been into property. Yeah. So he would sit there with these beautiful plans and design and stuff like that. And it was forever, he just had this knack or understanding of maximizing and the efficiencies of things, He just understood it even more so than the really high level architects we had working for us. So he would see better efficiencies. And I was just blown by this. I'd see that going, wow, this is just amazing. I want to do this. So I went through my process, understanding originally to be an architect. But my mum turned around and said to me that one of the businesses needs you. Okay, so why don't you see how you can manage both things? Yeah. So that was probably the only time I would have thought, well, can I do this or can I not do this? Is it too early? Is it not too early? But I was kind of lucky because I was schooled in business from a very young age. Mm-hmm. So, since 8, 9 years old, I've always understood how structures of business works. 17 years old, and I was, just for your reference, I was studying, doing 3 A levels, as well as I decided to take 2 more GCSEs because I wanted to do law, and I loved sociology because I'm a bit of a psychologist type person. So I took those 2 extras. So I'm doing 5 educational programs or educational courses, and at the same time, just to add to the mix, I took over one of the shops. So I would go in the morning, open up the shop, go to my studies, come back after college, come back into the shop and carry on. So I probably had it for a day. How to get stuff over it, probably a day. Can I do this? Can I do this? And I just got myself out of my way and just got on with it.
I love that. So your parents were very supportive in your ventures and understanding, okay, well, he's been doing business all his life. We've been kind of having that impression on him.
Yeah, yeah.
So curious, and again, my faith has a very important part in my life as well. But it was in your biography, and that's why. Can we get a little bit personal with that as well?
Any question, I'm here.
What role does faith have in you building your company, especially sometimes when you're going through hard times? Do you lean on that? Like, how do you actually lean on your faith? Because I know how I do personally, but I would love to hear your take on it.
Well, this is a wonderful conversation, because I have to say publicly, this isn't really the open conversation when it comes to the British way of thinking. Even though there is a vast majority of individuals who do believe in faith or culture, I find very, very warming, a different kind of conversation in the States, that everyone sort of has a very different understanding or acceptance of certain things.
Yeah.
Now, I must share one thing, that to me, I am a God believer. And to me, whether we call it God, the universe, law of attraction, consciousness, it's actually all the same. And I'm very humbled to that conversation. So there is no friction in that context. So how does it pay attention? Well, I'm going to be really open and honest. Guys, you've caught me at the end of my day. And I'm going to be open, completely open with myself. I've got nothing to hide. I'm going to tell you that it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I have everything. It's all about my faith. It's all about my belief system, my structure. And I don't see faith as a restrictor. I must tell you, faith for me is a parameter. It's an enabler. So if I turn around and say to yourself, just to give you more of a clarity and a philosophical answer, but
absolutely,
that can be followed. We, as a human, for example, we require our primary interest or primary focus is air, which is oxygen. So whether we have oxygen, carbon dioxide going through there, but we exhale whatever, but we absorb the oxygen. The second most important element that we require is water, H2O. So we're not going to go into food just a moment. That's the first two is sufficient. So here's the context. If we actually require what we classify as water, could we, because there is water in the atmosphere as we're sitting, so could we suck the water out of the atmosphere with our mouth? The answer is probably no. We cannot do without water, but we can't suck it out of the atmosphere. At the same token, it isn't the ground, but we can't actually suck it out of the ground. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So how do we consume it? Well, in order for the second most important element to be of value to us, to keep us alive, keep us hydrated, we would have to have some kind of what we call vessel, or you see this? You know, I'm drinking a cup here, so I have to have something here, if I can share, which is non-porous. Mm-hmm. The non-porousness allows the liquid to stay within this cup as a parameter. Yeah. So if this thing is Sukhi, that's fine. We can go to the river. Mm-hmm. The river has a bed and it has sides, which then become non-porous, and that's the only reason why the river can stay in its format. Otherwise, it would have sucked into the ground, would have flowed away. And let's say we say, okay, well, Sukhi, all you need to do is go to the river edge and pick up the water from your hand. We're back to our cup, our hand, which stops what? It stops the water going through, so it's non-porous again. This basically, all I'm trying to get through to yourself is that we require a membrane to make this drinkable, to be valuable to us. We need the water, it's in the floor, it's in the air, but we can't drink it unless we put it in some kind of parameter or vessel. And only then is it useful to us, and only then will it hydrate us, and only then will it become the elixirs of life. So the principal understanding is that we live our life, we should have these same parameters that serve us, not rules that restrict us, parameters that serve us. And for me, faith is the key. Morality, irrelevant of which faith, whether we go through the Christian faith, the Sikh faith, the Hindu faith, the Islamic faith, the Jewish faith, and every faith out there, Buddhism, etc. They're a parameter, something that holds us, keeps us in our parameter, keeps us in a vessel. So they're not there to restrict our life. The rules, or should I say the parameters, are not there to restrict our life. It's actually to contain it. us as humans, we're what we call the old T-Rex mentality. We always try our edges. We keep going to the outside edges and we try the boundary to get ourselves through. And the new military boys will know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to have an eye on your limitations, and you always have to keep it close. Keeping your enemies close, your friends close, but your enemies closer. The principal understanding is that if we don't keep testing these boundaries, we don't have those boundaries or those parameters, we become useless. Does that make sense? So,
absolutely.
In my humble opinion, may I share, for me, the parameters of faith, my Sikh faith, very important to me. Because within there, obviously, I don't want to get into the debate of morality and religion, which will come first, etc. Whichever it is, I will lean on morality, because I believe my genuine first religion is humanity, and Sikh faith is my spiritual pathway. So to me, it's a lovely symbiotic flow. So I live for parameters. Our body, full of billions of cells and atomic particles, etc., still has a skin that contains us so that we can use our hands properly. It doesn't float around. We're not mixing up ourselves all over the place. So everything requires some kind of parameter that serves it in a humble way.
No, I love that. And it was in the first line of your biography, which I found extremely important. And I'm the same way. So, and I'm getting more comfortable, and I'm just being completely honest with being more open, but absolutely. My faith is absolutely foundation, and you said the word contain, which I love that because it's something that keeps you grounded, and I'm not talking shackled to the ground, but you have this core and foundation, you know what to come back on, but it also enables you to know that anything's possible because of that.
You're spot on.
That's
See,
amazing.
the possibility, or we can go down another route sometimes of saying, things that work in our positiveness and negativeness and stuff of that nature. They're symbiotic, yin and yang. If there was no negative in your life, you would have no value for positivity. And if there was no positivity in your life, you wouldn't have any value for negativity. They both run with each other, because whatever as humans we humans are exposed to, we get used to. So if we're given good all day long and just positivity, and we get used to it and it becomes second nature again. Boring. So we demean it, we drop its value. So we require every now and again a little prick in the foot, like a little thorn in the heel.
That's it.
I say, I don't need to stand on that bit. That's not so good for me. That kind of thing. So it's really wonderful. Sorry, I may be talking around the competition.
No.
I'm trying to be as accurate as I possibly can. But
I love it. There's no rules here, Sukhi. There's no rules here. You're good, man. Now, so I want to
add something in there. Sorry to beg your pardon there.
No, go ahead.
I have to share, I said faith doesn't have to be a belief in God. Please, do not assume that it has to have a belief in God and that's the reason why it's success. It's basically something that holds me. That's all I'm trying to share. So my faith could be my lucky charm. It could be my lucky tree at the end of my garden. It could be something that I visualize, law of attraction. I go through a process of understanding the clarity of the universe, for example. Well, let's look at quantum physics. It's just basically all I'm trying to say to yourself is that it's an observation. It's what we call an observer effect. Quantum in 1981, gentleman called Professor Barn in 1981 clarified the process of in the quantum realm of the observation, the observer effect. Okay, so all we're saying is basically it's an observation on me. I mean, just to clarify, if I may, if there was no observation on me, realistically speaking, I should be the same as my surroundings right now, my chair, my table, because quantumly we are the same atomic particle. So the principal understanding is, why are we keeping form? Why am I keeping form? Why is my table keeping form? And why is the chair, the sofa that I'm sitting on keeping form? Due to an observation of another particle. So this is what holds things in place. Sorry, not to go too much into that context. So it doesn't matter about God.
No, I love it. I love it.
Whatever it is there. So I do have a degree in nonsense. So I do.
No, first of all, we could literally go the whole podcast with this, and just continuing with the whole concept of we can all agree, because we can debate all day, right? But we can all agree we are here, and my personal belief is that we are all here for a reason. So from there, find that reason, optimize the reason that you're on this planet, because the fact that you're even alive is ridiculous.
Love.
Just the probability, and then even as we say in mentors, leave a legacy. Like every single, I don't care who you are, you have the opportunity to do that, and that's absolutely incredible. So
I have a lovely 7-step process there. Well, it's a little discussion that might help some of the audience. Could I share it?
absolutely.
We're talking about your mission or your purpose in life. Now, by the way, every one of these that I'm going to explain was shared to me by a very close family friend of ours called Reverend Peyton. God bless him. He is no longer with us, but he's in spirit. And so in context of that, he basically explained something very, very simple to me. And I'm 16 years old, by the way, at this particular time. And no, not right now. I know you're probably looking and thinking, you little liar, Sukhi. And no, I'm not right now. But when I was 16 years old, he came around the house for, my father was a great entertainer. So he would always have great friends and really healed individuals around the house for a Friday. Now, I come from an Indian background, serving, or should I say, entertaining was the key. So Mr. Muggins was the entertainer, right? So I used to run around with the drinks or whatever it was, the coffee, tea, the food. So he was just about to leave, Reverend Payne was, and he said, son, come sit here. So I sat down. He sits to me and he says, let me share something with you. Now, God alone knows, the universe alone knows why he sat me down. But I will share this with you if it's of any value. He gave me a lovely story. And by the way, at 16 years old, I was kind of like bewildered at what is he just shared with me? I don't know what you mean. But it hit me afterwards. It was a pretty nice hit as well. So here's the point. He said, son, there are many people in life. And there is one person who is born, lives his life or her life, and then dies. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine. They don't look for anything, don't do anything. Because there's another type of person who is born, but they get this feeling. And the feeling inside them says to them, there's something I'm supposed to be doing here. Or there's something inside me, I can feel it. And they don't look for it or find it, get the feeling, and they pass. There's a third type of person who is born, who gets that feeling, but looks and seeks for it and tries to find it. Bless them, they don't find it, but they pass on, and which is not wrong as well. And there's another kind of person who is born, who gets the feeling, who looks for it, but this person finds it and finds exactly where the power is or what it is that they're supposed to be delivering. But they never isolate it and never take it out and never do anything with it, and they pass on. And there's another type of person who is born, who gets the feeling, who starts to look, starts to find, and brings this beautiful gift and box out, pops it on the table in front of themselves, and does nothing with it. And they pass on. And that's fine as well. He said then there's another type of person who's born, who gets the feeling, who looks for it, finds it, brings it out, opens it up, and says, wow, this is my gift. This is what I'm supposed to be bringing to the world. Sadly, they don't use it. They pass on. Another type of person who's born, gets the feeling, looks for it, finds it, opens a box, and uses it for themselves. And absolutely gets themselves ignited, that inner ignition of self-responsibility and the gift that was installed in them from the universe. But they don't share it. And they go. And the final person is born, gets that feeling, looks for it, finds it, brings it out, opens it, uses it to help themselves, and then ultimately uses it to help the world. And that's what you're doing. And there's your journey, and that is where we should all be aiming for. None of them are wrong. It's our own journey, our own individual pathway to where we're going. Yeah. You know, the further down the line you become, the better it becomes for you and the rest of the world. The more people we get who are ignited for the self-responsibility to share with other people, like yourself, the better place it's going to become.
Like you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I'm going to have to make sure I add that and make sure other people are able to listen to that story as well. I'm gonna isolate that, and that's gonna be one sound clip that I use, because that just gave me chills just listening to it. And for those people, you're absolutely right. There's some people who they're not gonna want to do that, and it's not wrong. And then where it becomes a tragedy is for the people who are looking for it and then they never find it, or for the people who do find it and they don't share it. That's an amazing, incredible story. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I'm really, really interested in hearing about the SynaGus method for how you create clear, simple steps and strategies to grow business. So how was that created? How did you come about implementing that?
Okay, so the SynaGus methodology was post my illness. So what I did basically it's been an ongoing process since around, let's say, 2008 onwards. So I was away for 2006, and around mid 2006 I was away for about a year and a bit. And I was just in limbo. I had nothing there. Came back and I just thought, I don't want to do what I was doing before. Something had to change. I was very fulfilled, but I just felt the time had come for me to deliver or share the gift that I'd been given. That kind of thing. So that last bit, that legacy thing. If you understand where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
And so the light switch was switched on. So the point is that once that light switch has switched on, these 7 or 8 steps that I was giving you, the moment you're switched on, there's no going back. It's like, another door's opened. You just have to keep moving. So it was just as simple as that. I've always been a go-get person, and I don't have a military background, but my elders did, and my father also then instilled that kind of understanding of philosophy of getting it done today. Just get it done, move on with it. Don't think too much about it. Know how to do it properly and do it. So, in essence, the feeling was already there that I had to start sharing with other people. So, SynaGus Method was always within me. For over 25, 26 years, I've been into psychology. Since the early age of 18, even earlier, I was reading into psychology anyway. Hence, when I was 16 years old, I went into sociology. Because of the social psycho base, And so what happened is that the principal understanding with this is that I got kind of semi-unlocked. It's great that you're from a Marine background. I'm going to share something with yourself. Okay. I had a discussion with a territorial army person, and I asked them very simply. I showed a map. Apologies, I haven't got a piece of paper. We hadn't planned this. So here's and I'll say to you, I want to achieve. Thank you very much. So here's the map. So it's just a piece of paper. I turned around and decided. Can everybody see that? Yep. So I'm going to draw a little circle, and I'm going to say, that's where I want to be in life, yeah? Here. So if I give that to yourself as a Marine or as a territorial army individual, the first thing you're going to say to me, yes, sir, no problems. And then you'll sit there waiting for the next instruction. The next instruction is, from where?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from? I can get you there. Yeah. If I said to you, can I come to your office? The answer is, this is your office. Of course I can get to your office. But I can only get to your office if I've got a start point, correct?
Correct.
So if you don't give me my start coordinate, there's no point. No way I can get to the destination. I need a start coordinate to get to a destination. Fair? So here's the key point. You need to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, everything else is a guess in life. So psychometrics was one of the things that I actually learned very deeply. By the way, psychometrics is the science of your own profiling, of who you are on the inside as a human being inside your algorithm, as opposed to what you show up in the world as, your map or your mask of showing, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm not a sister, but yes, a sister or a brother or a sibling, a parent, a best friend, a school teacher, a Marine. These are all masks. Inside, somebody's something specific, right?
Absolutely.
So inside the algorithm, inside your inside brain, or your conscious brain and unconscious brain, or the subconscious, whichever you want to look at it, it's about getting that alignment right. Mm-hmm. So the SynaGus methodology is a three-part philosophy, which sits within the realm of business. So it's business strategy and structure, human psychology, which is behavioral strategies, behavioral psychology, and also, which a lot of people are probably a bit frightened to talk about, is the spiritual realm as well. So it's how the integration of all these three comes through. So, for example, if you ever do get a chance and you do wish to share with your team, do share the TED Talk that I've done. And in there I talk about the laser-focused time, which is also known as DFT, which is daily focused time. So how we can ignite immediacy, urgent clarity, get over procrastination and just move on with it. Does that make sense? So that's what I talk about in one of my TED Talks. But in there, you'll notice that it may well just seem like a really simple system, a 7-step process. But in this 7-step process, just for your reference, under the SynaGus methodology in the banner, there's nearly 19 psychologies. And all you're doing is basically just following a simple step-by-step process. So step 1, it aligns consciousness and unconsciousness. So you actually become just wired. You get switched to get something getting it done. Yeah. It's really simple. It's very straightforward. The SynaGus methodology is about aligning your conscious and unconscious brain, and with strategies. And the conscious part of your brain, I call it your psychology, and then we have the practical elements, which are the actual business strategy. So that's the philosophy behind the SynaGus method. I haven't shared this ever before, and I'm genuinely telling you the truth. I don't make things up.
Well, we're honored.
Yeah, the name SynaGus comes from a particular understanding. If we go way back into the Hebrew understandings and the Latin language and stuff, syna or synna means synchronicity. Hence where synchronicity comes from. Synergize, synergy, all these things are a part of that same original synna. So it's the connection or the synna. And the word Gus is an ancient word for God. And so you can see where I'm coming from.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So you have like you have something who's born, but then you have a reborn or a rebirth or baptism, which then once you connect those two marriages together of self-awareness and understanding through psychology, you get the SynaGus, which is why it's called SynaGus Method. You're the only channel I've ever shared that real understanding behind. So I haven't really written a book yet. This is all a part of that chaptering. The book's written, it's going through the whole process, but I've not published it. So please, there's a little bit exclusive to why it's called SynaGus. Yeah. The SynaGus, I join with the universe, the entity, the strategy, and it becomes something new.
No, and that's brilliant. It's extremely meaningful. You can visualize that. Like I literally visualized both of those ideas merging as you were talking about it. So that's perfect.
Wow. Thank you.
That is awesome. Wow. So curious.
Just what you expected, because I don't know whether I'm taking it to a different space.
No, this is
spiritual.
I don't. When we do this, we don't have necessarily an expectation for where we're gonna take the conversation. This is what I knew, Sukhi, when we got on the call. It was gonna be a great conversation. That was it, and you have not disappointed. So, yeah, no, definitely. We talked about this a little bit, but this is a show that centers around mentorship and literally just talking to you. And I feel selfish sometimes because every single conversation I have, I'm trying to bring value to the people who are listening, and then I end up just mesmerized by the conversations I have, and I'm learning, and I'm like, oh man, I need a pad so I can write this stuff down.
Because I'm sure that your followers and your tribe and the people who are following you are following you for that same reason. The sheer fact that you're actually just a real person. You're there. You're in it. So I'd put it down as probably that's literally why people tune into you. They're only sitting here to see, okay, oh my God, he's just having an epiphany, so that must be really cool, really great. And I think it's your own vibration of opening up yourself and being a facilitator that really helps other people through mentorship. So, God bless.
Sukhi, everyone who's watching this show, they either were in high school with me, their family and friends. I got my mom on this call who's watching right now. I saw her just come on. Hey, Mom. But they're all people that have been in my circle at one point in my life. So they know clearly, and they're like, oh, Lavante's doing something with a podcast or something like that. But people like you definitely bringing in people who are doing great things in life. So excited about that and sharing it. My next question centers around mentorship, and we can do this a few ways. We can talk about how mentorship played a role in you as Sukhi the businessman, or we can talk about how you're using mentorship in your latest project. So, or we can talk about both. It's completely up to you, but I'm definitely curious of.
Let's do both. Come on.
Going up. Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but okay. Let's talk about how mentorship was as you were growing up, because you just have an amazing story, and I want to bring that out.
Thank you. I want to be I feel very humble that you've accepted the conversation the way it is, because I'll share with you something else. That, you know, a lot of people, a lot of speakers. I am an international speaker. I've done over 12,000 hours worth of talking and stuff like that. So it's a hell of a run.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But I feel very gratified by that, and I want to share something very deep to the audience and yourself and your following. That it's not about those numbers. Mm-hmm. It's about the moment you get ignited and want to share other people, share your gift with other people. That's all we're looking for in life. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about my mentoring, let's just start with somebody like Richard Branson. I mean, we all own the Virgin Group or the Virgin company.
Never heard of him. No, Sir Richard Branson.
We don't know going to the moon, right? We don't know any of this.
He's awesome.
He's Elon Musk's nemesis. We don't know any of this. Yeah. The reality is that, so he says very simply, no matter how important, how disruptive your business is, your business idea is, every entrepreneur, nowhere in life, I think, genuinely, if I didn't have my parenting, my mentoring from both my parents. We are 7 generations, and they have this amazing knack and gift to A, have the answer, and B, they've just genuinely been there for me. I can't give you a rags to riches story, and I'm not going to make it like a lot of speakers probably have done in the speaking industry. And I'm sure it's all true. Yeah. I'm not suggesting they aren't saying the truth, but I can't tell you that. I was born with not just a silver spoon, I was born with a golden spoon, with diamond crusts, or whatever you want to call it. But I could have been quite a useless individual, I'm sure. But it was down to my parenting, you know. They just really. I'm the youngest of 8 children. Again, I don't share a lot of this stuff.
That's awesome.
Late at night, so I'm telling you guys openly and lots of things. So, I'm the youngest of 8 children. I have 6 sisters. I have amazing motherly energy in my family. My brother is second eldest as well, so I have 1 brother and 6 sisters. Very tight family, very open family, very connected, very supportive for each other, and the reality is that, you know, if I said to you my mentoring was key, that would be an understatement. The gift that our elders have given, my forefathers and mothers have been passing down to us, to my parenting, it's just the genius of them being able to understand that each child's different, unlocking that child for their own benefit, and I'm glad that I was one of the children that was unlocked. I could have been a very spoiled brat. I can give you honest truth here. I think I was 7, and in my 8th birthday, I just went past I've not shared this story ever in public, so I'm going to share this with yourself. Yeah. You know, I think I'm going to blame it on the tide.
I love it.
I was traveling. I was traveling. My father and my brother my brother was driving. My father was the passenger, and I was in the back seat. We were driving past a high street, and there was on the right hand side a Kawasaki or a motorbike shop, whichever it is. Mm-hmm. And I said to my dad, I want a motorbike. And my dad said, why? My brother said, yeah, what are you going to do with a motorbike? I said, I'm going to race it. I'm going to scramble it. What else am I going to do? Kind of thing, yeah? Mm-hmm. So I left it. I forgot all about it. That Christmas, I had a £500, and this is 1980, that sort of time. I had a £500 motorbike sitting in my house. So I haven't had a poor upbringing or a deprived upbringing, and I don't mean this to be pompous, please. I'm not doing this at all. I'm just being open, honest with yourself. You know, Absolutely. This can pendulum swing both ways. You don't just need hardship to be good at something. You don't need ease to be good at something. You need ignition, and ignition comes from wherever. It comes from the catalyst of your parenting, your children, your friends, people around you, your community. You know that there are 7 stages within life. I was mentioning earlier on with reference to how we have those stages of oneself, you know, Absolutely. Being born right to the person who's actually sharing with other people, knowing that they've got to share the gift. This usually happens every 7 years. Every 7 years, I mean, you can, all your readers can actually work it out backwards. I don't know how old you are as well. You know, if you break yourselves up within 7-year gaps, for example, why 7 years? Let me start there for a start. Our skin, our cellular skin, takes 3 weeks to regenerate or to be replaced. So none of our skin's the same in 3 weeks' time. What is the last thing that medically we have changed on a cellular basis is the marrow and our bone. Okay, so that takes a 7-year cycle. So there's a scientific answer for you that if I am physically not the same person every 7 years, what part of my brain told me that I should want or act the same way? Does that make sense? So if I am not the same, why am I inflicting the same needs onto myself? Because I'm going to evolve and grow. What happens is that from 0 to 5, a child is what we classify as being in an unconscious state. They don't have what we call a beta brain or a conscious thinking. They're in the alpha brain, which is AKA also known as the animal instinct. I'm hungry, I want food now. I'm thirsty, I want food now. They don't have, well, I'm hungry and I might be hungry later. I'll tell you what, I'll put this away in the fridge. That happens a bit later in your life, Between 6 and 7 years, you have ignition 1 and ignition 2. So then we go from the next stage, which leads you to 12, 13, 14. Does that make sense?
It does.
So there, the next flows. Then we have, logically, 19, 20, 21. And we have 26, 27, 28. Okay. So now these flows, I'll start with the first 4 sequences, if I may. The first sequence is what we classify as the imprint series of it, the period of your life. The second, from 0 to 7, 7 to 14, the next period is called the modeling period of your life. And then 4 to 21 is known as the socialization period of your life, and 21 to 28 is known as the maturity period of your life. So you'll, just to listen to somebody, you'll hear in the first stages, it's a lot of whys and all these sort of things that go into their mind, and there's a constant imprint, 2.4, 2.8 billion synapses every single minute just installing in our brain. Then we move into the imprint period, from the imprint period into the modeling period. In the modeling period, we tend to copy, model other people. In first instance, the first 5 years, usually our father or a paternal figure, somebody who's the masculine energy in our brain, in our body, in our life. And if you're a lady, it's usually mum, the first section, and the second section is the dad. Irrelevant of whether your actual mum and your actual dad are those people. It could be your grandparents. It could also be your neighbors. It could be anybody who is in that motherly, maternal, or paternal energies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
First maternal, second is paternal. So if my mum tells me that this sofa is a banana, I'm going to believe it's a banana. It's very simple, right? So I'll go to school thinking it's a banana. Somebody says, no, it's not. It's a couch or a sofa. I'll say, don't be so silly. It's a banana. Got it? So that's how I'm imprinted. When we go into modeling is when we start challenging or looking at that and saying, is it really a banana? Yeah, or actually, I think it might be a couch, and so forth and so forth. So then we go into the third phase, which is the socialization, which is actually a society, friends, and a specific school teacher, male or female. So your friend circle. And towards the end of that period, again, 19, 20, 21, we start thinking about other things like relationships and bits and bobs. And then towards the maturity period of our life, the 21 to 28, we are in a different flow and we're starting to use different language. We're starting to say, I do this. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I wake up at 5 o'clock. Oh, I don't stay out late. There's something, we're in a lot of these I questions. Definitely. So we're starting to formulate a visualization of ourselves, and we're starting to accept who we are as human beings, and we're starting to repeat from a place of I established, and you said earlier on, grounding. Does that make sense? We start to have that grounding inside ourselves. So mentoring, which is, sorry, it's a long-winded scenario of answering your question, but I think it was relevant. Mentoring is necessary at every stage. Your first mentor is your mum, who tells you these things. Table, couch, top. Second mentor is your father. And I said before, father figure, mother figure. Doesn't have to be the same people. Yeah? Doesn't have to be a blood relationship. Don't start thinking to yourself, well, I wasn't living with my parents, or etc., or my parents were split up, and etc., etc. No, that's not what the point is. The point is a motherly energy, maternal energy, paternal energy. So we need different mentoring in maternal stage, and we need different mentoring in our paternal stage. Then, when it comes to socialization, we require a different mentoring. So that mentoring becomes our school teacher. Yeah? And then we move over into friends. We learn from them. And then the final stage is when we're in our own maturity, we start thinking about ourselves and we start looking for a different kind of mentor, somebody who's going to stretch us, somebody who's going to support us in our journey. Yeah? So the point to the question is that if you're talking about how I was mentored by my parents, they were amazing. Because I was the youngest of 8 children. I think they had a plethora of experiences, and they genuinely just floated me through all this period of time, imprinting, layering knowledge. I never had the no, I cannot do. I never had that procrastination feeling. I never had the, I wonder if this could go wrong. It was just like, just get it done. You know, this is how you do it. This is how you run a shop. Get out there and open it. I'm not frightened to tell you. I've been up at 5 o'clock in the morning and finishing at 3 o'clock at night again, and then starting again the next day and starting again the next day. I've done my grafting. I've been there. You know, nothing falls on trees. Do not think that there's a quick and easy way there, because easy come, easy go. You will have less value for it. When you've hurt yourself and you've cut your hands, we call it, I have a methodology within, a classification within my SynaGus method, and I call it the healed person. Mm-hmm. The person who's healed is somebody who's been cut and has scarred, and they can clearly see, don't do that again. I'm going to get a scar. That scar reminds me, don't do that again. You know? In this context, if I can be much more exact about this, sorry, I've given a lot of knowledge. But
no, I love it. Yeah, no, it's great.
Thank you. The point is that I've been blessed and honored to be a part of my family the way it has been. And I think my success is only probably two elements, my parents and the divine, you know, whichever it's supposed to be. If there was anything that I could share saying that I'm successful at something. So, you know, I'm not going to be pompous to say, yes, I've done this, I've done that, because that's not me anymore. So what happened in 2006 onwards, my life completely changed. My focus was different. My wants were different. I want to get that point across to people. I want that ignition. I want to ignite people for their self-responsibility without them having to go through a near-death experience. And that's one of my inner missions. So I just like to ignite people, switch them on. And once they realize who they are, what the potential is, and possibly they need to search themselves what their actual journey is and what they're going to deliver to this world, what their gift was, what was hidden inside them for them to deliver. Because we've all got something. You mentioned it right at the start, and I agree with you. So that's my answer to yourself. And my parenting was just colossal. It was amazing for me. You know, a parent or a mentor is, for me, somebody who's taken a journey or is there like a parent, yeah? Or if it's a mentor in business, for example, because I mentor thousands of people across the globe now with blessings as a part of my group of companies, not my primary result or primary focus. But my point here is just that I want to be there. People who I work with, people who work with as a mentor, as a mentee, I'm there for them when they need my help. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it's like ringing up mum, dad. What should I do? You know, how can I get past this? It's having that answer at the right time. You know, the analogy I give quite regularly is that we heat ourselves up, the metal. We heat ourselves so it's malleable, so we can move the shape around. But if we do not get the information at the right time and we don't twist at the right time, the shape won't change. Absolutely. And then it's quite useless afterwards when the shape's cooled down again. We have to reheat it all. We have to go all through the whole, the energy, the whole of the learning and having a real mentor at that live moment is just a gift. It's just an absolute gift. It's an honor. And so the question, just the difference between a coach and a mentor, because it's always up to me regularly. A coach is somebody who can ignite and, should I say, unlock the best out of yourself and get you to find the answers for yourself. But a mentor is somebody who's probably been where you want to be or is where you want to be. Does that make sense? Definitely. So what is a coach going to do? A coach is going to get you to find the answers, and mentors going to just give you the answers. And if you manage to get both of them in one, wow. Grab that person with both hands and don't let go, because that means they're going to unlock you, they're going to understand you, and they're going to get you there in 10 years instead of 30.
If there's someone out here and they're saying, Sukhi, you are absolutely amazing, which I am saying that, but there's like, how do I get you to be my mentor? What would your expectation for this relationship be? What would your red flags be? What would you reply to them?
It's really simple. The very first thing is I am a systemized person. So I would be humbled to listen to anybody who would like to be mentored by me. Mm-hmm. So the question would be, they would have a first, I would say about a 30 minutes or an hour conversation with me. And I kind of learn them and understand where they're coming from and what their mission is. Because I won't say, by the way, I believe everybody can be helped at any level. Mm-hmm. The question is it me? Does that make sense? So absolutely. I don't confess to be, I will fix everybody. Does that make sense? All I'm saying to yourself is that we can't win every single goal. You know, we can't get there. So the reality is that I will be damned if I do not try. So we already understand this, and we're going to go back to the art of war again, if I may share.
Definitely.
Winning or losing on the battlefield is an outcome that can be 50-50. But not getting onto the battlefield within itself is a failure. You didn't even get into the battlefield. Does that make sense? So you don't even know whether you could have won or not.
Right.
So my question to anybody who wants to work with me, don't hold back. Get out of your own way and ask. I'm sure you're going to either share, or I'm happy to share some URLs or websites that the people can reach out with me if you want me to. Mm-hmm. So the first stage will be, is they'd have to have a one-to-one call with me. By all means. If you would like to know a bit more about what I get up to, can I share a website?
Definitely. Go ahead. I'll make sure I supply it too.
Sorry?
I'll make sure I supply it in the show notes as well.
So I'll tap it in for you as well.
That's perfect.
InspiredBusiness.club. And it just so happens, ironically, I think, when we tried this about a couple of months ago, I was supposed to be on. I have to apologize, obviously, to the viewers that I wasn't online then. But the reality is this, that at that time, the Inspired Business Club wasn't even ready. So it's just been relaunched. And ironically, the base product, I've just opened it for 6 weeks.
That is awesome.
So it's free membership. It's
Perfect.
Free. So
Perfect.
I put a lot of content into here, put a lot of information into here, and it's free. So please get out of your own way, and if you like anything I've said or would like to touch base with it more, go on to inspiredbusiness.club. I think in the next 2 weeks it's gonna be back up to a monthly fee again. But please join there. You can communicate. You can reach out to me, Skype me, Sukhi, SUKHI Wahiwala, WAHIWALA, anytime. And I'm sure you're going to put this information out. So if they contact me, I will contact them back, and I will turn around and have a lovely conversation with whoever requires, and we'll take from there, and I'll understand what their expectancy is. Remember one thing: if you engage with any mentor or coach, like somebody comes to yourself, Ante, and says, "Can you mentor me?" Mm-hmm. The first thing that you would definitely do, and I do as well, and I train all my mentees, but I also have about 47 mentors who are my mentees as well, with gratitude, and I train them to always clarify exactly what the customer is expecting, the client is expecting of them, and then be very true, be very honest, and say, can I deliver that?
Right.
That's if you're going to be a mentor. If you're going to be a coach, it's different. A coach has to have a skill, an articulation, an understanding of language, neurolinguistics, that kind of stuff. So you're constantly in the framework of getting the customer to search for new questions and answers. Does that make sense? So they can find their own way forward. Now, with a coach, you do not need industry knowledge, psychological knowledge, psychology knowledge. That's what you need. But for a mentor, you have to have that experience. You have to be somewhere in life that somebody wants to be involved with. So I hope that helps a little bit.
No, that's brilliant. I love it. So I'm going to ask a question that I'm setting myself up, because you've given us just so many really cool anecdotes and passages. But this next question asks about probably your all-time favorite, or the one that you go to for inspiration personally, whether it be an anecdote, a passage, a mantra, anything. But what is something that you lean on, or you read it to get yourself in the right frame of mind?
So, okay, wonderful. So I've got about 3 things that I really love. They come from the depths of psychology, but I just want to pre-frame it, if I may. I don't lean on them in the times when I need it, because that's not what it's about. I don't do that. I'm feeling crappy today. What do I need to get myself out? I don't do affirmations. Because an affirmation, and I do apologize if this is a view that's different or doesn't synchronize with your listeners. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
An affirmation, in essence, would be, I am positive today. I am this. I am that. And then you carry on with the rest of the day, and then the next day you say the same thing. Today I am on it. Today I'm positive. The next day you say something else. Today I'm this. So what was it the day before then? July.
Exactly.
So it's like, despite the statement of saying that I am this today, you've already immediately lied about yesterday. So I just don't do it. I'm not interested. We don't have those much in the sense of your military and marine background. There's no question for the in-between greyness. There isn't a time for that. Life is an amazing journey. Just embrace it and get on with it. You know, if you're going to fall off the buckaroo, you know, just fall off it and get back on. You know, that's how it works. You know, just don't worry about things like that. And I know you've had that background. You know, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get up and you're moving again. There's no question. There's no space for that. So that's the first thing that I want to pre-frame. There's no what do I do to pick myself up. I don't use it for that. If you're saying to me what resonates with me a lot, there's a number of things that resonate with me. But for everybody today, the real clarity that I need to explain today is the map is not the territory. The map is not the territory. Sorry, I'm going to be a bit American now. Sorry. The map is not the territory. Yeah? What do I mean by that? People say, if I may, can I go back to my amazing, I know you're
Definitely.
blown away by my artist impression of my artwork.
I could go anywhere with that map.
Yeah, see that, yeah. Because this could be anywhere, right? And I know you're blown away by my artistry as well.
I love it.
But the reality is, if this was a map of my hometown, okay? So let's say this is my office and this is my home, yeah? Would this actual piece of paper be my office and my home?
No.
No, absolutely not. So what is it?
Symbol, representation.
Thank you. Spot on. Shows your learnedness. It's a representation of my map, the map of those two locations. This piece of paper is my brain. So I'm going to look silly, and I'm happy to do this for your team.
You look great.
You can tell it's late, guys. I don't think anything else. I'm a non-drinker.
I'm the same way.
So it's my brain. The map is my brain. Every single minute, every single day, every single meaning that I make on here, I add another on my map. I add another peak, trough, you know, distance, a drawing, a tree. I'm adding more detail to my map every single day. So this is the one, you could say, mantra, as I used your language for a second, if you don't mind. So the point is, what would this mean? This means everything to me. Why? Because this means that the map itself is not the territory, which means the reality that we see today around us, your office, my visual here, this is just my reality. It's my version of this world. So if I hold this cup up to yourself there, which side is the handle?
It's on my left.
On your left. Well, actually, you're wrong. It's on my right. Does that make sense? So you don't know what you're talking about. You've got it completely wrong. So if you've ever argued with somebody, this is all that's happening. You're not willing to listen to the possibilities that the other person sees a different version of the same cup or the same object. Does that make sense?
It does.
So this is the first thing that one should see is bring a bit of humility in your life and realize that you don't know everything, as I don't. So the thing is that this principle behind it, the map is not the territory, just for your compliant listeners, if you would like to know where it comes from an amazing Polish-American who's Professor Alfred Korzybski, just for your reference, Alfred Korzybski, and he wrote a beautiful book called The Science and Sanity, 1931, 32, that sort of time, before Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, just for your reference. And this reference of the map is not the territory is used in neurolinguistics by Dr. Bandler, who's a good friend of mine, but it has no reference to Alfred Korzybski, but he wrote it. Does that make sense? So the principle behind this map is just my version of the territory at large. The moment I realize that you have a different version of this world, conflict stops. I don't have any issues, don't have any conflict. I accept that your version of the world, all I need to do is to say, that's your side. Oh, hang on a second. What I'll do is I'll just go around this way and have a look. I got it. This stops conflict, it stops everything. You don't argue with them, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, best friends, even foes. You don't have to challenge anymore because you think, well, I respect that. So let's look at the other version. So this is a key understanding to my philosophy of life. The map itself is not the territory. Now the beautiful thing is that, okay, so let's resolve the fact that this is a map. Well, how do I make inscriptions on this? How do I add data to this, details to this? How do I have another building or another house or another car or another track? Well, the reality is that us as human beings, it's Korzybski's work again. We are meaning-making machines. Nothing less, nothing more.
Right.
We just make meanings. And the only way we can transfer anything onto this map is through a meaning only. We can't add and ascribe anything on. We can't scratch it into there unless we've made a meaning to it. Does that make sense? So it has to be ascribed a meaning. And the moment you make a meaning, did you know you have an automatic action that follows it? So could I just be as zealous as to say, the second you've done anything, like including watching and listening to me, thank you very much, that would have been preceded by a meaning. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. Does that make sense? So these are the kind of things that really tick me, that make me work. They make me realize and add humility into my world, because the psychometric understanding, the dominant inspirer, dominant influencer, the stability and the compliant, these are the four area energies in there. Wherever you are in your prospect life, you still have to use the same physical understanding and analogy of allowing to see the other person's version of the world. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that's kind of core to everything we talk about. When you want to be a good mentor, you have to understand the world is different from the other person. You have to turn around and realize that they've had a different journey, and their journey is unique and correct to them. So we have to respect and adapt ourselves to match that. So there's 3 steps I look for: know yourself, know others, and then know how to adapt. So how do you do that? You've got to psychometrically, scientifically assess yourself. If you ever want to do a really good top-end assessment, I'll tap it in for you as well. It's inspireduniversity.com. It's an open university. Go in there. There's some assessments. Do the one which is self-assessment. It'll take you 30 minutes of your life, but you'll come out with a 37-page analysis on yourself, and all you're doing is basically moving which one of these particular characters is more like me or less like me. That's it. So there could be any number of questions, from 18 questions to 50, even 60 questions. So it depends on how you're answering, the time, the way you move the cursor, how you're thinking about it when you correct yourself. All these things are a part of it, and the physical answer as well. It's, if you haven't done an assessment, it's the most amazing gift that anybody could ever have in their life. That's the first bit. Unlock yourself. You don't know you. You're jumping around somebody else's destination. You don't even know where you're coming from. Even if I put a new destination into the silliest thing like a satellite navigation, a sat nav. The first thing the sat nav does when it switches itself on, it checks where you are. It looks at your current coordination.
That's it.
Then it says where would you like to go. Got it? So if you don't know where you are, you're just guessing at everybody else's world. And sometimes that means that we're walking around for most of our life with this mask on ourselves. This external mask. We are somebody to somebody, as opposed to being ourselves, which within it to be. Let me give you an outcome. Forget about what we end up being. We end up being false, right? But the reality is, I'm sure some of your listeners have had this energy. They feel tired some days and don't want to get out of bed. They want to get up, and I can see you've got a smile on their face. There's lots of people like that. So they have ups and downs and ups and downs, ups and downs. Did you know that there was a way to combat this? And it's not eating more, and it's not having energy drinks. No, it's not that. It's about actually knowing yourself. When you know yourself psychometrically in science level, so if you're a dominant influence a stability or a compliant, then what happens is your brain allows you to do something in your natural and adaptions. The natural psychology is my inside, how I react under stress, for example. So if you were under some kind of stress, you would have a very standard way of doing it, the way Levante does it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it'll always be the same. Doesn't make any difference. You'll go back into this, what we call safe mode. That's it. That's how I think. That's how I see the brain. That's how I see the world under pressure. So that's your internal natural. The gift here, and for everybody in the audience, is to know their natural way of doing things instead of living in this adopted or adapted world where right now you're listening to me. That doesn't mean you're constantly just a listener, right? It means that you're adapting right now to take this information in. So you're a listener, but sometimes you're the speaker. Yeah. So if you were just a listener, you wouldn't speak. So what we're doing is we have an adapted outside of myself and say, well, I'll react as a student right now or as a facilitator right now to get the best out of somebody. So this is what I'm talking about. We've an inside natural and external adapted. So how are we adapting ourselves? So bless so many people I meet in this world who are living in the adapted world, and they don't realize why they're having crashes every now and again. It's because they're not doing anything that rejoices, that regenerates or rejuvenates their natural instinct, their natural needs. So the moment you know you're natural through the psychometric assessment, use it, inspireduniversity.com, do it, change your world. And any of your listeners who are listening for this, by all means, they're welcome to do the assessment, and you can Photoshop or screenshot page 17, which I'm interested in, and I'll even walk you guys through it as a gift. Each individual person. So if you did it, I'll walk you through what the two inputs, the external, what we call adapted, and also your natural, it means to you. So you can just truly unlock yourself and live a life that is truly fulfilling. You'll know why you do things. It looks as though somebody's had a little bird on your shoulder or a camera watching you all your life up until now, thinking, hey, how did you look that up? And just these 17 or 30 questions. It's just impossible, but it's brilliant. So for me, I would learn yourself. If you learn yourself and you did something for yourself in your own natural state, every 24 hours you wouldn't go crashing because you wouldn't crave anything. You'd be like, oh, that's good. So for example, if I was a D dominant, if I could share, a dominant individual is a direct, forceful, end results, no details. As soon as I've got it, I want to win straight away. So if you're a D dominant person, you won't even be aware that there's other people's needs in this world. You think it's my needs, right? You worry about your life. I'll worry about mine. I do me. So with that, basically, if you're a person who's a dominant D, and every single day you don't check in with your big goal, the likelihood of you or seeing how far you're getting to that big goal, the likelihood you will drop in energy. And if you're an I, which is an influencer is the type of person who starts lots of things and what we call plate spins, spin that one, spin that one, spin that one, spin that one, run around, start projects, but not necessarily finishing those projects. There's what we call an immense serial starter. They're great starting projects. The moment you say this is what we want to do, they've already started digging the garden. They've forgotten which area, where it was supposed to be. They haven't got any of that in their head. They said, you said dig the garden, I'm digging the garden, So they're a start now person. So those individuals, they should do something they should always be checking. They should always be with other people within every 24 hours. Go and spend some time with some people, If they feel down, do something for themselves, do something social, do something fun, that kind of thing. And if you want the last two, I'll say the other one's the stability, which is somebody who's much more soft-natured, caring. They tend to be much more introverted energy. They tend to be the mothering energy, the maternal energy. And that doesn't stereotype mums, by the way. I'm just giving you the mothering energy. It could be from the father as well.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to say is that they're the caring individual. Their biggest challenge is they don't think of themselves. They've got less value for themselves. If there was one glass of water, you wanted it, and they could be completely dehydrated, they'll give it to you and say, oh, I'm fine. So if you know those sort of people around you, they should do something for themselves. And that could well be caring or checking that they've got regular income coming in. Does that make sense? It's like the regularity, the security, the safety. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to share with yourself is the compliancy or the compliant energy or the conscientious energy. The person who always has to think about things before they do it. They need to plan. They need to stretch. They need to understand every feasible opportunity or outcome. So that individual requires that kind of feeling of every single day that you should just double check that I'm clearing tasks. For them, they need to be able to tick things and clear that they're on strategy and structure. As long as you've covered those things, that person will be very happy. So there's a little tip to everybody who's one of those four, by the way. You're all four of them. Just want to let you know. All of this, in which quantity is any one of them. So do you have a high dominancy? Do you have a high influencer energy? Do you have a high stability energy? Do you have a high compliancy energy? You're all four, but in what order? Anyhow, I've done a lot of talking. I really hope I haven't been boring you.
Definitely not. No.
Thank you.
We've got one more question, and you just have done an amazing job answering every single one and giving a lot of value. That's why I'm glad. I just completely buttoned up and just completely listened to what was coming up. But the last question we've got to the pass the torch portion, which is, in my opinion, my favorite part of the show. But torch holders, we've arrived at the time in our program where our guest has 1 minute to pass the torch and leave a legacy. We all know that a mentor is a person who's achieved, and Sukhi, you said this, a level of success that we desire and can effectively guide us to success as well. Based on the success you, Sukhi, have achieved at this point in your life, which is a tremendous amount, if you could pass the torch and leave a legacy message to your former self, which is interesting, or someone who's in a similar situation, how would you pass the torch in 1 minute?
I think it's the last conversation we had.
It is. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Learn yourself. I am going to leave a legacy, and the legacy is that I'm leaving it within everybody who's listening. Thank you. With everybody who's facilitating. Thank you, Levante. And the reality is that if I've spent my time in my legacy within 1 minute and said, as long as I've got you to understand yourself, know you, know how to identify others' psychometrics, know your own psychometric, know others, and then learn how to adapt, I think I've done my job. Because when you know yourself, you have an automatic outcome, and that is to ignite your self-responsibility. The moment you know yourself, you can now unlock other people. So under the SynaGus methodology, we, in the next 6 months, will be launching the world's first unlock practitioners. So the practitioners who can actually physically use an unlock therapy or an unlock structure to unlock individuals as they see them and meet them. So if I was to leave a legacy, my legacy would be anybody who's interested in becoming an unlock therapist, somebody who's going to go to a coach or a mentor of some kind. Because trust me, you can all mentor. Every single human being can mentor somebody in something. Every one of us. So the question is, what is that? What I want everybody to do, if I left a legacy, I'd want them all to be ignited, to know what their message was, which I shared earlier, and what to do to share it. More importantly, who they are and who they're speaking to, and learn to adapt them. That's the way I see it.
Boom. I love it. You've been on Pass the Torch podcast with Levante and Sukhi Wahiwala. Make sure you find him on www.sukhiwahiwala.com, and also check out inspiredbusiness.com. There's other websites I'm going to put in the show notes so you can check that out. Take the personality quizzes or evaluations and learn a little bit more about yourself. This has just been a great show. Make sure you go back, watch it, because there's tons of content you might not have even been able to absorb the first time, but you got this. It's been recorded, so you can do that. This has been Levante Santos and Sukhi Wahiwala reminding you to seek knowledge and pass the torch. Boom. See you guys.
Are we good?
We're good. That was great.
Thank you.
That was perfect. No, you were awesome. So there's nothing about like 3 PhDs or something in here, because that's what it came out. I was like, wow, I'm just blown away. I'm blown away. I should have said something about your book as well. I just realized, I was like, go buy his book when it comes out. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes. I'm a huge fan. Like, I was a fan before. That's why I wanted to bring you on the podcast and share you with the audience. But
very humble, honestly.
Even more
very,
so now.
Especially to have somebody of your stature and understanding to say something of that sort of nature, that you were inspired by anything I'm doing. And all the way over on the other side of the pond, as we call it, the other side of the Atlantic. Wow. What a gift to have heard that conversation from yourself.
And I get to share you with everybody else. So I'm
you know what?
super
I think
excited.
you've given me a lovely facility. You've given me a facilitation of just sharing stuff that's happening in my world and how I see things. And yeah, I suppose I'm the authority behind the SynaGus Method. So I suppose you're going to get a bit of a uniqueness of it. And I'm hoping genuinely that I didn't disappoint. I hope I tried and shared as much as I possibly could.
This top three. You're top three. Like, and I've done 34 at this point. Like, yeah.
I'm very humble. Very humble.
And I don't put them like 1, 2, 3. You're all on like all just same plain amazing. This was.
I really love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I tell you, no, thank you. I mean, Levante, can I ask you a favor?
Absolutely.
Is it possible for you to maybe say something about what you've just done? Maybe in a recording of your own, and just send it over to us. We'll put it at the bottom of your podcast when you do make it level with us, and we'll make it live. And it's just lovely for us to. I think I got interviewed with somebody else, a young lady in US as well, and the US is massive. Okay, so she was an amazing interviewer, like yourself actually, and she just sent me a voice, a video herself afterwards via WhatsApp, and said, "I just need to talk to you about what happened when I interviewed Sukhi." And so she just went,
I can
and
definitely do that.
Open 3.5-4 minutes of just sharing the things that are happening and the epiphanies that she personally got, and you know, and that'd be really humbling for me personally.
I can absolutely do that. When we post these, we like produce them a little bit.
I tagged them and everything. I posted.
Did you? Okay. What date are we gonna publish?